Hi Pepper. So I'm gonna walk you through the application that I built. I don't have an installer just yet because I've only worked on this application for about 7 days now. So I don't have an installer for it. But I will send you the JavaScript files, and you guys can take a look at them if you want and see and take a look at the code. So, all right, let me give you a little background though. So the application comes basically from the fact that my wife has started doing photography, and I wanted to build something to help her manage her images online. So she uses some other software from Adobe, Photoshop, and Lightroom to manage her images locally, but then pushing them onto a website is kind of a drag. So I decided to build this, and I wanted to make it as easy for her to work with as possible. She's not very tech savvy. She gets the job done, but one of the features, the key features here, I've really focused on like the user experience is a lot of drag and drop functionality. So if we wanted to upload an image, we could just click here. I know that's not drag and drop, but you could just as easily drag and drop something. And also for deleting. So there you go, I just deleted an image. I actually like that image, so let me see if I can find it again, and I will upload it. So I think this is, let's see, here we go. I'll just grab a file and drop it in there, and there you see we have the little spinner for like a split second telling us some sort of asynchronous action was occurring, and then the image automatically pops up once it's uploaded, and then we have all this neat functionality here. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, there's also, I'm using AngularJS for this application in conjunction with Require.js. They play really nicely together, and we'll take a look at the code in just a second. But one of the reasons I like AngularJS is that it has data binding and templates, and it implements a model, well, they call it a MVW, model view whatever, but generally it's just a model view controller pattern that they use for the framework. Along with that, though, they have data binding, and let me show you data binding. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it, but it's one of the coolest things, and it's really easy to implement in AngularJS, and it's built right in. So if I wanted to change this image to just hello world, I know that's very creative right now, but I kind of want to get out the door, finish my vacation. So anyways, here you go. You see that I changed the name, and here the value of this field is bound to the value up here, so they get updated automatically. So as I change this, that changes. I haven't yet created the put functionality to update the database. So if I click save, nothing's going to happen here. But let me just go back to the images. We have that. Also, like the publishing sort of stuff, you can just click the publish button and it'll change it. And I used to have it, but it's a work in progress. So if you click publish right now, it will update the database. You just won't get any feedback yet. So, and you have categories as well that you can just create a category here. So like hero category, and there you go. We have a new category, and all that, all this stuff happens asynchronously. You don't have to refresh the page, and if I had a lot more images, you could see the pagination, but the pagination works the same way. There's not a page refresh, and but I'd have to upload like 24 pictures. I want to move on with this demo. So let's take a look at the code, because that's what we're really all about here. So this, again, it started as a proof of concept. I kind of just was trying to play around with it and see what I could do. And then as things went, I was like, you know what, let's make this official. So, well, sort of official. And I haven't written unit tests. Now, I know normally like that would be like really bad, especially where I work right now. We kind of are required to have unit tests for everything. So, or at least where they're needed. So unit testing is one of those things that you don't want to necessarily cover every single line, but you want to cover the things that are actually important to the application. So anyways, in my case, we don't have them, mainly because the way it's written right now with Angular and Require, and so a little bit of feedback here. So AngularJS uses the Karma test runner, which was built I don't want to say exclusively, with the idea of running unit tests for AngularJS. It was written by some people at Google, and it's the test runner of choice for Angular. And it has some features for working with Require.js, but the complexity level really goes up when you use Require.js. So rather than if I wanted to just get up and running, I just ditched the unit tests and the end-to-end tests. But you know, again, normally that's not something I would do. I just was having fun. So what else? There was another point I wanted to make about that. Oh yeah. Part of the reason too that it is that AngularJS gives you a little bit of a break if you don't do unit tests right away, because it uses dependency injection, and kind of like the whole workflow of AngularJS, it was really designed with unit tests in mind and with end-to-end tests. So it's really hard to write untestable code with AngularJS, so long as you use just AngularJS. Again, this application doesn't use just AngularJS, so again, the complexity level goes up. I use a few things that are not native to AngularJS, and I'll show you those. So where's my build? So JS, and we have the main. So you see I have a few dependencies. I use jQuery. AngularJS plays really great with jQuery. It actually has a version of jQuery built into it called jQuery Lite, but you can use the full version and it'll recognize it. So I use jQuery, I use Twitter Bootstrap, I use DropZone for the drag and drop stuff, which is, I prefer using the HTML5 APIs. Most browsers support it, and I really want to make the really great application. So, and it was mainly for my wife, so I just went with the HTML5 APIs, and rather than support like Internet Explorer 7 or 6. So, you know, people that use that, they can figure it out. I'm not about that right now. I'm just playing and having fun. So, but, you know, again, with AngularJS and Require, because everything's so modular, you can just switch that out at some point and use something else. In fact, I played around with a couple different ones to see which one I like best and which one was easier to implement. Okay. So another thing that I wanted to show you, and I'm going to include it in the package, is, let's see, close this, is the scheme for the database. Since I'm using Joomla, I had to kind of work within the confines of the Joomla scheme. So there's a few fields that you know, don't look like the rest of the fields, and that's basically because Joomla just plays nicer. Particularly with the ID field and the state field. So you can see one here and here. Most of my fields start with the name of the table, the singular version of the table. So again, and here's another feature of Joomla, is they use a prefix for all their tables, which is like some random, you know, 5 letters and an underscore. But anyways, normally it would just be images, which is a plural version of the entity, and then a singular version for each one of the lines. And in here, you can see the relations. So I'm going to include this. And then if you really want to look at how I designed it, you can look at the scheme. I included some foreign keys and some indexes and stuff like that. And, you know, just take a look at what that's how that's put together. Let's see, another deal. I wanted to cover the CSS that I'm using. So I actually use SCSS and Compass. Now I included this as well. You will notice that some of the files don't use like really core features of SCSS, and that's, again, I'm working really rapidly, and I borrowed, quote unquote, no, I did borrow some CSS from other applications where I was just like, oh, copy and paste, just try to get it look pretty and whatever. So, but, you know, in general, I really like using, so here's a good example. of some CSS that I borrowed. But it also, what I do like about it is it helps keep me organized, despite the fact that I am copying and pasting some CSS. You can, I know where my buttons are, the styles for the drop zone, the image list, or all my AngularJS animations. So that's another sort of thing to that AngularJS recently built into the system is animations that are native. So I have my own animations in here. And I like using SCSS and Compass because it's really easy and really you can keep things really organized. And I also use the Compass app, which you can use the command line, but why not use a $10 tool? You know what I mean? To make your life a lot easier. It just watches the file and you can configure it really easily. So it uses the Ruby configuration file. It's really easy to set up. It's very similar. If anybody has used Yeoman before, you can see the config file. I think when you include Sass, it also comes with a config file. Okay, so regarding the REST API, so my application, you might notice and go, oh my god, what is he doing? This isn't REST. And you're right, it's not REST. The reason is I'm using Joomla. So Joomla has a big problem with using REST. They just don't implement it. They don't use all the protocols, so they don't use delete and put. I don't think they use put. It's very screwy. Okay, so I've played around with that for a bit, actually, maybe about 2 months ago, where I finally got tired, and I was like, all right, let's fix this. So I got together with a friend of mine, and we started creating a fix, and realized this is a bigger mess than we thought it was. So that went on the sidelines, and I got busy with other stuff. But we do have kind of a working thing. I just didn't want to waste a lot of time this time when I was working on my image application. I can make the Joomla system work so it gets the job done, which is what I'm trying to do right now. I don't want to put 1,000 hours into something. I can always refactor, and so long as the base stuff is good, then we're good to go. So all right, we covered animations, required JS, bindings, the scheme. I think everything is you'll want to look at is in the the archive that I sent you. But you might also want to look at GitHub or my blog. I don't think I've blogged in like a month though. I've just been busy. But you can look at some of my stuff there on GitHub. You can look at some of my plugins. In fact, I'll very rapidly here. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'll go to GitHub. And if you really want to look, so I've done a lot of stuff with QUnit and JS, QUnit and JS Test Driver. That's kind of been like before Karma, that was like my go-to test runner. So let's go in here. And so like my V Plus plugin. So I've written a million jQuery plugins, but now that I'm using Angular, the need for those plugins is kind of vanished. Angular has so much stuff built into it, from animations to validations and data binding, so you don't need a whole lot of third-party stuff. I'm using some, like the drag and drop upload, because it's going to be easier than having to write it from scratch. That being said, I do have some old stuff that I still keep on here. And I don't put all my stuff on GitHub. I should tell you about that. I also have an account with like a private Git repository with Beanstalk app. So, and that's mostly PHP stuff that I've done. So, yeah, if you want to look at things in here, I think also, before I let you go, and you can probably go on at this point, but there might also be my MVC. So I started this MVC framework. Yeah, I never really finished it, but you can get a good idea. I mean, I know how to do MVC, and I think I have tests in here. Tell me I have tests. I know I wrote PHP unit tests. No, I didn't. I must have. Oh, okay. I have them locally, but I haven't pushed them. So anyways, that was just playing around. I was doing some tutorials. So if you want to take a look at my work, check out my GitHub page and let me know what you think. All right, thanks a lot. Talk to you later.